But here I am, alive, not asleep from the Benadryl yet. I think this next discussion is going to wake everyone up. It looks like we've got a full house. You guys don't really need an introduction, so I think you can just come up on the stage here. You guys know these people, huh? Can we get a really warm round of applause?
How's everyone doing? I came down with an ear infection, so I can't hear anything in this ear. So I'm keeping everyone here. And if NVK wants to sit right here, they'd be perfect. Here, come up on stage. We need you on stage. So we're going to keep this like super simple, and we're just going to do audience Q&A. And do we have Fiat Jeff as well?
We're actually, if you wanted to call in, we're prepared. But
yeah. He's right. Okay. We asked him also to not just write questions, but write critiques of our performance up on stage in his very caustic way. But before we get going, I just wanted to say how much we're grateful for all of the organizers, first and foremost. So there's this huge round of applause for the organizers. And led by McShane. Can all the organizers stand up? Everyone who's organized and worked on this, please stand up. Lee, Todd. This was done in a very short time frame, and everyone pulled it together in an incredible way, and it's a ton of work, and really appreciate you. Very grateful for you. And thank you so much. We'll give you a lot more lead time next time. Also, we have a ton of volunteers. Many of you have volunteered. I just want to give a huge shout out to all the people that volunteered at the gate. That is some real work. So huge round of applause to the gate people. And then all of our vendors and food, and of course, Awake. Thank you all so much. This place is incredible. But also the people of Costa Rica. This is a very special country. It's a very loving country. When I first came here 10 years ago, I got into a taxi and the guy asked me, have you ever been to Costa Rica? And I said, no. And he said, well, we don't own Costa Rica, we share it. And I just thought that was such a beautiful tone to set. And I think it's also set the tone for what we're all trying to build and what we're supporting here. So thank you for being kind to all the folks that you encounter and all the people who actually live here and make it what it is. So round of applause for Costa Rica por Uvita. Okay. I think you know everyone, so maybe we'll just start with questions. And I don't know how to best organize this, but do we have a roaming mic? Okay. So raise your hand. Any question goes, but Nostr related would be great.
A common theme throughout the conference that I noticed was people talking about building marketplaces and then having a reputation system. And I'm wondering where that's going. And that's something that's always been super interesting to me. And I've built many prototypes that end up basically looking like Twitter. But I have ideas for how that would work, and I'm wondering what you guys are thinking about with that.
I'm not really thinking about that, but I really hope that people are thinking about that. And I don't know, I'm focused on Damus, and I highly doubt there might be a built-in marketplace, but I'm just trying to keep it focused. So I really want to see that, and if there's anything we could do to help encourage developers to build stuff like that, if there's the bounties but yeah, I would love to see it. But me personally, I don't have a strong opinion about it.
I think there's a lot of interest to build a marketplace on Nostr. For the past few months, a lot of people have talked about it, especially having it built directly into clients. existing clients, but also an entirely different client where it is just the actual marketplace for Nostr. But I think that this gets us back to reputation and building a web of trust, because we can't censor people. We don't want to censor people, but because of that, I think a lot of people are kind of hesitant about getting scammed, because this happens on centralized platforms already. So this is a hard question for us to kind of tackle on an open protocol, something that's open to everyone, and which we want it to be open to everyone. So I think that getting started, I think a lot of that will be with us building a web of trust amongst ourselves. Like, I know as Bitcoiners, we don't like to trust, and I think that that's okay, but at the same time, I think that we've had some trust throughout our community, showing that we are a caring community, we are a trustworthy community, and we can build a web of trust with one another to do business with one another. And maybe that will spar into something that's beautiful. And I'm sure we will have bad actors that try to take advantage of this in the future, but if that happens, then their web of trust disappears. They are not in that web. They're outside the web. So I think we just got to build it and work on it together.
Yeah, I think for Snort it'd be really cool if we could build a marketplace, and I know Carnage has been really begging me to build it for a while, so it's great that we have Diagon Alley or something similar there that we could potentially implement, and of course there'll be problems, and but we'll work through them.
Okay, next question.
Thank you. What do the panel think about wallet integration into clients? And Jack, what's your thoughts on LDK as a part in that solution?
I don't really have that strong opinions on LDK in particular, although it is a very flexible framework for building wallets. I find the biggest issue with integrating a wallet is the liquidity and making sure that you have sufficient inbound and outbound channels to do that, and that's the hard problem. Just adding LDK is good, but yeah, the harder problem is getting into the liquidity of the network. But I just saw something this morning which blew my mind, and you might have seen the post about it, but making it easier to connect to external custodial or non-custodial nodes. So there's this thing called wallet node connect or something, and it would be as easy as just scanning a QR code, and you could connect to your self-custodied wallet or a custodial wallet like Wallet Satoshi. And I'm pretty convinced that this is what I'm going to do right as soon as I get back, because it seems so simple, and it uses Nostr itself to send invoices or to pay invoices over using ephemeral events. So I'm super pumped about that, and I think that's probably going to be the way that we integrate a wallet. It's just connecting to external wallets.
Think of division of labor. People shouldn't be building all the parts. Like you mentioned, LDK, BDK, the new one from Breeze that I forget the name now. Try to let other people focus on that, because building a wallet is a lot of work. It doesn't seem like a lot of work, but it is. And then you're just busy dealing with the wallet, and you're not building awesome Nostr stuff.
I have a difference of opinion there. I think that yes, that would shift focus, but running a Lightning node is hard. Nobody wants to manage, the average person, probably half of you in here, even that are Bitcoiners, don't want to manage liquidity. You don't want to manage channels. It's not fun, it's not easy. So we have a long way to go to allow Lightning to get better for users, but I think one easy step is just having it built directly into a client. Right now, I know of one client. They were on stage either yesterday or the day before, Get Current. They're here somewhere. They're the only client that I know of right now that has a wallet built directly into it. So they have to manage the liquidity, they have to manage the channels. They're the ones that needs to be the experts. Users don't need to do that. Users can just focus on pressing the zap button and have that work. You know, they don't have to pull out phones or copy QR codes or paste things into other wallets, which yes, that's easy. It's easy to do. But you can make it absolutely seamless and so easy by having it built directly into a client. A lot of us have probably used stacker.news, you know, or something, or fountain.fm. If you want to pay, you want to send some sats to somebody, you just touch a button, you just tap something, and boom, the sats go right there. You don't have to pull out your phone, you don't have to copy invoices, create invoices, do anything. It just works. It's really easy. And that's what the average user wants. That's what the people that aren't here probably want. That's what the masses want. They just want it to work. They want technology to be in the background. You know, they don't care about how the sausages are made. You know, they just know that they're delicious. You know, they just want them to work. So I think that it may complicate things. It may make things a little bit harder for some clients, but not all clients need to integrate a wallet. You know, maybe we'll just have some for the people that, for the normies, you know, for the no-coiners, for the people that are being onboarded now, for those people that need an easy-to-use one-point solution.
No, what I meant is just integrate like wallets that already exist, like BDK, LDK, into your client. Yes, so that is easy.
Okay.
And you're
So we're in
not
agreement
busy
there.
building a wallet. Yes, we're in agreement.
All right, thank you.
I just don't think it's scalable for every client to just become a bank. And now you have to have a giant liability to like manage everyone's funds. And if your node goes down, then like all your users are going to be super pissed off. So if I can any way I can outsource that to external nodes, that's going to be the priority in Damus. Yeah, because I don't want to be a custodial node at all. So
I think it goes back to that Unix philosophy of do one thing and do it very, very well. And that remains true. The Spiral team has done amazing with the LDK. Its original intent was just to make it a lot more performant and accessible for mobile developers to work with Lightning. And I think it's succeeding. It's still small. But its breadth is also impressive. Like we're using it for our C equals Lightning node that we just stood up. And you know, the roadmap as they continue to build is just, it's only going to make Lightning better and more accessible to more people. So that goal, I think it will continue to hit. Next question. Pablo,
Thank you. Hey.
you're building the NDK.
I am, among other things. Yes. So when Bitcoiners get together, we always talk about how Bitcoin will die and how Bitcoin will be killed. How will Nostr die? How can Nostr be killed? And what do we have to do to prevent that?
I think it'll you know, the way that I see it dying is just if there's just so few people caring about it. But the hardest thing with like these open protocols is that someone is going to find a use for it somewhere, and even if it's some niche use, you know, it'll still be used. So whether it's dead or like in a zombie-like state, like that's, maybe we just consider that dead. So that's the biggest thing. If it just people lose interest, and but I don't know. I don't see that trajectory right now. But maybe, yeah, I don't know. I can't see it happening, but we'll see.
I would agree. It's probably the number one is irrelevance, which is hard to stop. Like I said on your podcast, we're still in this mode of like we're running away from the things that we don't like to build a lot of this instead of running to it because we need to have it. And I think Zaps is one of those things that we're running to. And I think as that grows, the more and more people will run to it and it becomes easier and more accessible. I also think, like going back to, you said this yesterday, I believe, maybe today, but if we don't have enough focus on micro apps, and we have too many larger concentrations of centralized apps, that's an attack vector for the whole network, and you know, another gatekeeper. So, and if we're overextended into one use case like social, also it doesn't really meet the potential that this protocol can bring to the world. So there's many, but like I think just building something that you want to use, that you love, and you show people, and they feel it and they love it too, that makes it relevant. And that's the thing I would focus on, because everything else will be solved. Like we'll figure that out. But like the relevance thing is, I think, the most important.
Yeah, I mean, thinking adversarially got Bitcoin this far, and I think Nostr will benefit greatly from that. So, you know, I still remember when people didn't like Blaster, yay mutiny. So, you know, any behavior that is possible will be done by good actors and bad actors. So embrace the things you don't like on the network and sort of like remediate them, because they're coming, right? They don't have as much imaginations like as you do, but they will sort of figure out ways of making our life difficult. That's kind of their job. So, you know, embrace it and then try to build against it as if that was like essentially like free pen testing.
All right. Next question. Gentleman in yellow.
So maybe follow-up question / bounce. One of the things I noticed, I will call it maybe like protocol sprawl or something like this, where there initially there was like 3-5 NIPs, and it was like, wow, okay, cool. I'll build a client over the weekend, and I'll build a relay over the weekend. But now it's many more, and some of these NIPs seem sort of kind of ad hoc-ish. So it seems like we're missing some sort of meta NIP, like how to extend. I cannot like automatically load in a NIP and add it to my client, right? So I start sensing that maybe this could become a problem where the protocol gets very complicated because lots of people suggest very specific use cases, and maybe we forget to sort of step back and look at like, hey, wow, we're getting all these NIPs. Can we make maybe a process to make that easier, or maybe even formal language for NIPs that you can just load in your client and are sort of agnostic? I have ideas about this, but I'm curious what your opinion is on this. So the sprawl of the protocol.
Yeah, I find this really interesting, and this came up when Uvita did the medical NIP, right? It was very ad hoc, like you said. And I mean, I loved it because it was like, oh, this is just one kind of cool use case. And it didn't bother me because I don't see that as sprawl. I just see it as like it's there if you want to reference it for some use case, but it's not like it's required. Like the number of required NIPs in the actual protocol is very, very minimal. Probably within like the first 10 or 15. So you can pretty much just ignore the rest of them. So I guess the issue would be if more and more became so common that they were basically required. So that would be concerned, and then you would need some organizational structure that says these are the important ones and these ones are just ad hoc. So yeah, I think but that's just like a small documentation issue. But yeah, I think people should submit more NIPs. Like I think more NIPs are really cool. We should explore different use cases, and I don't think we should get too upset that there's like too many of them. We get overwhelmed, but yeah, anyway, that's just my...
Yeah, I mean, all the NIPs are optional as far as I know. It's only the first one that's required, so you can implement whatever you like. You know, it's not up to you.
All NIPs are welcome.
Yeah, I think that, you know, I think that all of the other stuff with Nostr, all the other things, all the other stuff that people are working on is the exciting part. Like where we're at now it's exciting, right? But not as exciting as what's going to be built in the future. So as Will said, you know, submit all the NIPs. Like that's when the real fun begins. So keep working on it, keep submitting them because we're really, really early. So the more the merrier.
I would like to know the opinion on how should relay discoverability work for the end user, so somebody that does not know how actually Nostr works. And what's your take on local or super local relays in which you could get information on where you are exactly? So here, for instance, in Nostrica, or when you travel somewhere or in your neighborhood, copying something that could be like next door. What's your take on that?
I mean, well, there's a gossip approach, of course, which I think everyone believes is the way to go, where, you know, people publish their relay lists and, you know, you just read the data from those. In terms of the local relays, I'm not sure how you would do that. Yeah, maybe you have an idea.
it doesn't have to be by distance, right? It could be just by like exposure set. So, I was saying like earlier, if, Microsoft decides to be a little bit less evil and they go like, hey, we want to run Nostr instead of Jira or something like that, right? And they have a private one, and you can use your same identity that you have on Nostr for your shitposting to go and receive or post to the private relay that Microsoft has with the same pub key, right? So you can have this sort of like multiple places where you sort of belong, and they don't have to be seen by the whole network that you interact with.
I think that more specialized or localized relays will come. I think that we're kind of early now, where all relays basically host all the same kind of content. But in the future, I don't see why that will hold to be true. Maybe it'll be, I know we're not Mastodon fans. I'm not, but I know that they have specific servers for specific types of content. I don't see why we wouldn't have that at some point in the future.
So yeah, discoverability of relays is a really interesting thing and a problem that's been since the early days. Actually, the kind 2 is a specific note. And so Jeff obviously thought it was very important because he did number 2 right after text. And I actually never implemented it in Damus, but it's just a way of like broadcasting a relay to your feed, and then they can click a button to join it. But that was like kind of the first, really dumb way to do this. But there's better ways, such as, collecting all of the relays across all of the people you follow and just see the most common relays. So Damus could do this, and I've always talked about doing this, but that should be a thing, possibly. Obviously, the gossip model moves away from that and says, let's just do it automatically by looking at relay hints and following those. So there's lots of things that we could be doing to improve discoverability. And just another way would be to make it even more useful is once we are able to discover all these relays, you want to be able to see different views of the relays in your clients. So that's a big feature as well. I don't know how many clients do that, but
I don't know. I was just going to add I believe that there will be and there should be specific groups of people on their sets of relays, and you just have your small group that because if you want to look at global, for example, and find related things to that group, then it's the only way, so having those small clusters of people on relays and being able to get the content from those relays is really important for scaling.
I think the most beautiful aspect of this protocol is if you have a strong opinion on this, you can build it, and either the people will use it or not. And you've seen this throughout the development over the 2 years of this protocol existing, and it's proving every single day that exact concept. And I think that's amazing and unique. It's truly permissionless. You just have to have a great idea, have a lot of conviction around it, and put it out there, and people like it, it'll become a thing. Next question. And we'll try to, if you asked a question already, please let someone else go first until we have no more hands raised.
Hola, ¿cómo están? Hello everybody, welcome. Thank you guys for setting this up together. As a local, I feel proud to have you here. So, guys, you have a bounty for Nostr version of GitHub, and 10 billion satoshis. You will buy Costa Rica with that money in the future. So, what are you looking for with it? What's your main objective with that? I know it's necessary, but I would like to hear from you. Why is it important, of course? And the second part is a request. We want this next year again, and if necessary, charge for it. I will pay for it happily. So thank you, and pura vida.
Pura vida. So the first question was around the GitHub replacement. So yeah, I have a bounty for 10 Bitcoin right now for someone to build a GitHub replacement, and both Fiat Joff and NVK have scolded me over the fact that it's way too broad of a bounty, and I need to rewrite it and make it more specific. Fiat has had some really good points in one of his post replies to me, which I put in the bounty description. I think there's one team that I know of that's working on it, but the intent purely is I'm doing a lot of work to try to protect Bitcoin Core because it is a single point of failure. Who wants to join Bitcoin Core? Who wants to contribute to Bitcoin? Craig Wright and all of his, I don't know what to call it, but it's terrible. And of course, the code base is relying upon a Microsoft product that can make different decisions tomorrow. So if we can self-host a decentralized protocol in Bitcoin on a decentralized protocol, like we have something that lasts and lasts beyond us and lasts beyond these generations. So that's the goal, is to be able to get off Microsoft and actually have more self-hosting and have everything that the core devs need to actually do their work and do it without a lot of friction or a lot of worry. It's just one piece of the puzzle, but I think it's an important one. It's not to replace all of Git. It's not to build every feature that you find in GitHub, but just the bare absolute necessities so that the Bitcoin Core developers could say, yes, I trust it, I'm moving stuff over here, and it just takes a bunch.
Breaking down the problem. And because Git is already decentralized, right? Like you can host your own Git, whatever. What we really love is GitHub's value add, right? Which is like the issues, all the metadata on commits and all that other stuff. But like this bounty could be broken down into, hey, can you just make a diff, Git diff sort of like patch thing that just transfers them around, and then people choose if they want to add to their code base from there. And then another one that maybe replaces issues. And then another one, that kind of stuff. And also I find that like big bounties attract people for the wrong reasons. So maybe the bounties should be small for the actual little things, but they come with a commitment to help you sort of develop it further if you are the bounty winner. So that we have continuance on the solution that, like people through charity or business need, right? Like sort of do it. I think that would be fantastic. Yeah.
So I need help.
I think it makes sense for decentralized money and decentralized social communication to have its code repositories hosted on a decentralized manner. It just makes sense.
A lot of people might not realize that the largest software project on the planet does not use GitHub, and they're like, when people hear that, they're like, wait, well, how does it work? Like they must be using some advanced technology, but in reality, the project I'm talking about is Linux, and they actually just use email. They just send patches back and forth. And this was actually originally how Damus, I wasn't hosting it on GitHub, but there's just so much demand for that GitHub interface, and that's what like the modern developer, that's what they're used to, not these like neckbeards who are just like had email and they didn't have GitHub growing up, so they're so used to that development model. So my idea is like, well, if people just find email too hard to use, let's just basically use a very similar model that Linux is doing, but just replace email with Nostra. And that was like the first idea I had. So I actually wrote some scripts called the Git Nostra tools that you can send patches over Nostra. I think my only user was Fiat Jaff, and because it's just so complicated. Like people are not used to command line tools. So when I saw that other team building the Git Nostra, and they basically just clone the GitHub interface. And I don't know, maybe we need that because devs are just so used to that. But maybe we could also still have tools that are lower level, and I think this is what Fiat Jaff was talking about. Like, let's have these like simpler tools that are more modular, that still work with that other interface, but let's not just build another GitHub clone. Let's actually build proper modular tooling. So that's my perspective.
Rockstar, does Fiat Jaff have anything to say?
Yeah, he does. I mean, you asked me to relay his roasting, so he says, I don't even know who are these people. But he actually does have a question. He has asked, please, what strong opinions they have that no one else has, and not just opinions, but approaches on how to do things.
I promised via Jeff that we would try to interrupt each other more. That was his criticism towards all the tech conversations, is that people are just too polite to each other. And in a good Brazilian way, we should be interrupting each other. So we'll try.
Strong opinion?
I mean, listen, Linux sucks. Use FreeBSD. There is a reason why they, use email. Like, I mean, it's, I mean. That was yours. Well, then double.
My strong opinion is iOS sucks and everybody should use Android, including Damas should be on Android.
I am actually not even an Apple user. I built Damas because I was using an iPhone at the time. I'm actually like a Linux maximalist. I built my own Linux desktop, and like it's sad that I can't even use it because I just spend so much time working on Damas. But yeah, I mean, I think Linux is way better than Apple. I don't really like Apple, to be honest.
I don't really have any strong opinions, so sorry. I just build things.
Hi.
So, I'd like to bring it back. So, Jack, I met you at Personal Democracy Forum in 2009. So if I just paint a picture, it's like civic tech will save us all and will protect democracy. And if you think about what's happened since 2009, that hasn't exactly gone that well. So I'm just wondering, to bring back, we've been here before, a lot of the protocol debates and quests for standardization that we all take for granted now in HTML and HTTP, that didn't exist at the beginning. We had to negotiate that and fight for that against Microsoft and to a certain degree Netscape. But 2009, Jack, at Personal Democracy Forum versus right here and right now, I'm just wondering what kind of reflection is most alive in you about how can we not make some of the same mistakes that we've made before or assumptions. So kind of assumption checking with you.
Yeah, I mean the first thing, the biggest thing is the permissionless concept. It's not when we started Twitter. I mean there was kind of one path for us, and Rabel talked about this. His presentation was beautiful. Where's Rabel? Oh, he's down there. Of course, he's always in the background somewhere. But when we started Twitter. There was a feeling because of the simplicity that it was like a protocol level thing. Like it wanted to be that. It wanted to be that. But we had no clear path to do that. And we had no, apart from Linux, we had no kind of parallels that we could point to as a pattern of this is what we could do, as far as I knew. Rabel may have had a few, but it just felt like we took this step, which was Ev graciously funding and buying the company back from the investors, but becoming an investor himself, and then taking on more investors, and suddenly there's only one way to go there, which is you're either acquired or you're public, and you start issuing equity, and you have all these employees who need liquidity now, so that puts an urgency around it and pushes it, and you don't have a revenue model, so you need a revenue model. And hey, did you see what Google did with their revenue model and Facebook did with their revenue model? They did ads. Bitcoin wasn't, we started before the iPhone. The iPhone wasn't out. We were on Nokia phones and text message, the T9, for those of you in the audience that are old enough to remember that. And we rushed an ad model. And then you start getting trapped in these things, and one step leads to another, and momentum builds, and suddenly it's completely different. So just the fact that this is not starting with that intent, what Fiatjaf did, which I'm so grateful for, and I think is so beautiful, is he put this in a very simple Markdown document, which I know he's got feelings about Markdown. But he put it in the public domain. And he had some opinions, he built some things, and then people just saw it and they're like, wow, like that's it, that's the essence, that's what it wants to be. And in fact, it's not just the Twitter thing, it's like much more, but it solves for the Twitter problem as well. So it's already fixed all the things that we ended up doing. And you know, it was a very good vehicle for Twitter to build a company around it. It was, I think, the only vehicle we had at the time, and it's done its thing and it's influenced, and I think it's influenced the reason we're all here in probably the wrong way, but nonetheless, we're here, and it's actually Twitter's 17th birthday today. This is the 17th anniversary of the first tweet going up, which I would normally have mixed feelings about, but seeing this, seeing Fiat Jobs' work, seeing all the work of this panel, all the folks in this room, and seeing the people in this room, how many of you are not developers? That's pretty incredible. We're mainly talking about super technical things, I'm sorry, but it's pretty incredible that we're putting a conference together this early with non-developers. Like, Twitter was not that. It was all nerds and geeks for the first year and a half, 2 years. So there's something here. There's some essence that has been found and discovered, and now it's just pulling the thread. But there's no real barriers in the way. It's just, you know, back to the relevance part. Like, how do we build something that people want to run to, and like they feel like I want to be a part of this because it helps me be better. It helps me see more of the world, and I think it's here. It's just, you know, we're going to be impatient because we want it to move faster and faster, but this has moved pretty damn fast, as evidenced by this conference itself. Anyone else? You always look at me like you want to say something.
You brought me here.
You would be there and you look.
That's true. You know, it kind of goes back to Bitcoin. I know, like, some people, you know, in Nostr may not be super Bitcoiners, but the reality is when you started, you needed permission. You needed permission from the carriers, you needed permission from the DNS, you needed permissions from everybody, right? And if he sees everybody, you couldn't just pop a company, you had to pay for bandwidth. It was a different sort of universe, and like, when Bitcoin sort of introduced this thing, they're like, you can't do things without permission, right? You can come here, you can build a thing, and then Nostr sort of like coming in with the same sort of mentality. You could build a thing, you don't need permission to do it, and the protocol seems to be designed that way, right? Like, some things are still open to find out where it goes, but it's like, stop asking and just build. That was not possible then, it is now, right? I think that's sort of like the main difference. It's like 20 years, right? A generation's passed, and now we can do stuff in a way that we can do and win. It was just not possible.
So,
next question.
Yeah, next question is more roasting from Fiat Jeff. He's saying, it should be opinions about Nostr. Come on, guys. Like, you're saying random things. So, strong opinions that no one else has, approaches how to do things on Nostr.
Well, I am a huge fan of no delete, no edit. I think, like, it mirrors real speech, like, you know, and I think it's very special. I know it's a little bit scary, but I think it's very powerful because it's authentic. Like, I like seeing people's mistakes. Like, they're human. And I have the feeling too when I make a mistake, and I know exactly what people feel when they make similar mistakes, and it's just like one of those empathetic moments. So I just think it makes the world feel small, and we don't need to edit everything and make everything look perfect. It just has to be raw and real, and it's one of the reasons I love this country so much. It's super raw, it's super real. Pura vida, pure life. I mean, that's it. So that's I hope I will not use a client that uses delete and edit.
I just have one that's just in particular going to trigger Fiat Jaff, and I will enjoy that. So I think the gossip model is interesting, but I think it's somewhat of a premature optimization, and it's not the highest priority. But yeah, that's my opinion.
I feel like having notes not be global, like you can just post notes anywhere, and there's no global state. I really like that. I don't know if it's controversial, but just want to mention it, that you can post something in your community and it's only there, and only the people that are in that relay can see it, and it's kind of like it kind of brings those people closer, you know, to you, and you can kind of see each other's posts, and it just kind of brings people together, I think. So even though they're separated, you know.
I know that Fiat Jaff doesn't like Markdown, but oh man, I love Markdown. I think all clients should implement Markdown. I want my posts to look pretty. I want them to be formatted. Like client devs, you can make me happy and implement Markdown everywhere, and I will love it.
I'll implement it when there's a spec for it.
You know, the best part is that Fiat Jeff will appreciate this. You don't need Fiat Jeff's permission. So, like, you know, that's the beauty of it.
I have a question. So, Jack, you said you don't like edits and deletes, right? But we've been talking about this for a little bit. What about having a TTL, right? A time to live? Because for people who are running relays, I mean, having 5 million messages of pure Uvita is like something that probably does.
This is beautiful. What's wrong with that?
So
what's your problem?
No, I love it. But it's like good morning, pure Uvita over and over again. You can help out some of these guys that are paying the bills themselves, right? You can get some of that stuff going. But if you had a TTL, I think one of the things you could do is maybe like allow them to save and just pay sats to save. So now the edit thing, it doesn't matter. Like the system knocks it out. But if you got a dope, note, right? I almost said tweet. If you got a dope note, right? If you got a dope note, like you can save it to somebody's relay, and that's another way for the relay guys to make it. Because I know I'm running a little relay now. Shout out to Google for the freeness of it right now, because when it starts charging me, I'm just going to be ridiculous. But what I'm saying is that the fact that it's charging these guys something like to get it gone. I saw Will saying, yeah, what about you, man? What you think?
About the expiry?
About the TTL, yeah, like having the TTL. Okay, for anybody who don't know what TTL is, time to live, like so allowing it to die off.
There's already a spec for this on Nostra. it would be very easy to add to Damus, and I was just talking about this the other day, and just like we should just add that. It's like a self-destructing note. It's, yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, there's an if for it, but it still doesn't guarantee that the relays will actually delete the event. So,
but clients could just, I mean, yeah, it's not deletion, but clients could hide it. You know,
also, there's screenshots. But just on the good morning, good night thing, one thing that would make Fiat Jeff really, really happy is if all of you, at this very moment, if you can, please post GM at Fiat Jeff. Everyone at once, please. Like, just GM at Fiat Jeff.
Relays and clients are currently on fire as they're getting spammed right now with GMs.
Let's bring them down.
I think that potentially one of the issues Twitter had was with the server cost of saving all that data. So that if you expect data to be saved and users don't want to pay for it, then one way in which they will pay for it would be advertising by the relay operator who's saving the data. And I think there's another issue in that with the note type, it kind of simulates conversational speech. And you're a thoughtful speaker, so you think about what you're going to say. And most people do before they put it on Twitter. But then what happens is you get this skewered, it's going to be there on there forever, so you frame things within a certain way, and you think about what you're going to say, and you make sure that it's going to be published forever. And then in society, you have some people who don't do that. They speak like someone you would meet down the pub, or they speak like someone you would meet in the street, and they'll say stupid stuff, like we all do. We all say stupid stuff when we're relaxed and we're actually having a conversation. And then those people in that framework, they seem more real. And I think it gives them power. So I think that actually having ephemeral qualities to notes de facto, and maybe the user wants to pay to have the luxury to store those notes on a relay, I think the ephemeral qualities actually shouldn't be overlooked, I don't think.
So I just got to chime in. That just crashed our network.
Wait, what? What network? The Wi-Fi network? Oh. Damn.
Centralization.
Sorry, remote people.
The dangers of centralization right here.
But Ben, you're right. I agree.
So you mentioned how with Twitter specifically, in the early days, there was a lot of developer involvement and not as much non-developer involvement, and compared that to this conference where there's a lot of non-developers here, myself included. And I was just curious what you all thought of how that's going to affect the future of this protocol and the pros and cons of that.
In my view, it seems it only gets better because everyone here is really close to the customer. I know that's the wrong word, but you really get to hear exactly like what people love and what they're suffering with in terms of like trying to use it, and you get to see it first go. Like I have a bunch of friends here. You've probably seen them. Where's Dor and Lulu? So these guys, they're completely new. Stand up, Dor and Lulu. Lulu. So these guys are with me where I live in Costa Rica, and Lulu is from Bordeaux. They're both surfers. Never, I don't think really used Bitcoin before, and this whole protocol was super new to them, and like I got them to test it in like 2 minutes, and they just kind of like felt it and fell in love with it. And a lot of it was having to do with apps and like just being able to hear and see how they use it and how they want to use it, and everyone being this close with developers and designers. We need a lot more designers. That's a population we need to definitely increase and integrate into the development workflows a lot more. But I think it's a net positive in my view.
Absolutely. I think that the fact that there's so many non-developers here contributing in various capacities, from your memers, your shit posters, your people that are helping people out. Everybody's building, not just developers. You might not be slinging code, you may not be building clients or building at the protocol level, but you're building one way or another. You're part of the community one way or another, whether it be engagement or creating content for people to consume. But the fact that you're able to have these conversations with developers when things don't work right because you have way too many people DMing you and following you. You can DM your client developer, like I used to tell Kieran all the time, and tell him things aren't working right for me. And then they start working right, in the very near future. And everybody has this type of voice now. So I think it's only going to make Nostr that much better and that much more robust in the future to have everybody contributing in various capacities right now.
Yeah, I'm very used to just only being in like technical communities, and in the early days of Nostr, it was mostly technical people and like some dishwashers you would talk to occasionally. That's an old reference, anyway.
I saw that screenshot for the first time yesterday.
Yeah, so it was very quirky, and sometimes it biases the things you work on, and sometimes it's like you focus too much on the technical aspect. Like I was really into the proof of work spec. I'm like, yeah, we're gonna proof of work on all the notes. But it's like reality is like no one really cares about that. So yeah, just having like real people that you can talk to that are just like non-technical, and they can give you their perspective. I'm like, wow, I did not expect that at all, because I'm like way too at the low level, and just being everyone telling them your opinion like in real time, and you're able to get feedback in real time has been absolutely incredible. And it makes development so much more fun because you get to see the things you push out and that you get feedback in real time, and it's just it's a magical thing. So I hope we have more and more of that going forward, and that's the huge part of the network that I enjoy also.
And then there is more than just the clients, right? I mean, there is, when you're trying to sell an idea, right, the zeitgeist of the thing that's happening. You have things like Elodie, who went and built this beautiful Nostr.com, and like all the t-shirts, and like there's like all this art helps sort of inform users of what we're trying to do, right? Like, and and they convince people to try this new idea. It's like incredibly important. And, you know, you don't need to build a client, go build documentation, go make an awesome video about it. Look at Jaeger with all the AI art, that was being posted all over Twitter, and people was like, what the heck is going on, right? There's Nostriches, right? What is this, right? Like all this stuff is sort of like the art around it. Without that, you really don't get anywhere. I don't know, super grateful that we have this amazing people doing that stuff.
Yeah, it's been amazing to just have so many real people using the app, giving feedback. It's like we're not just building cool stuff for developers or whatever anymore. It's like even when I started, I built it as like a learning project to learn about Nostr, and it's just I had immediate real users giving real feedback about their experience, and it just helped me, it just propelled me really,
I'm fairly new to Nostr. I'm 1 month into it, maybe 6 weeks. I had a aha moment where I went to demos and I started digging into this, and then I put my keys and I put it in Snort, and then I realized, oh shit, all my data is here, therefore it's portable, and this is when the Bitcoin muscle memory clicked for me, and I'm like, this is huge. And yeah, I'm wondering, what is your aha moment that makes you want to dive into this?
I mean it for freedom tech. I was saying this earlier, you can have freedom money, but without freedom of communication, you can't trade, right? So that's to me. There's going to be people that that hate Bitcoin, whatever, right? But you can't exist, right, as a free person without those two things, right? You need to have private property, and you have to be able to express yourself. And I always felt like the Bitcoin sort of solved one of the biggest problems, right? But we needed to solve the second part, which is how do I coordinate with you? It's like the radio stuff, it's just how do we talk to each other if they close the pipes, or if they don't like what we're saying, right? Can we still trade? Can we still exist? Can we still interact? And I think Nostr was this perfect thing that just fits right there.
In the white?
Yeah, just piggybacking on the last question in terms of, having people who are non-tech, coming into this space, because this is new for me to be here. I just found myself here at this conference and teaching yoga and talking on mythology, and yet there's such an amazing integration where I don't think sometimes when you're so in a world, you don't realize how many more people are rallying behind the world that you're building. There's such a deep hunger in what's happened in the world now, and they're looking for people with the courage to build the more beautiful world that our hearts know is possible. And it seems like with a laptop and powered by the right currency and philosophies that you can start build these things, and people need to see this. People need to see more of this. And I don't know how, but there's people who are deeply hungry knowing that it's happening. Because there's so much despair and alienation looking at what's happening in the social media space and the financial space. And it's hugely inspiring to be here, actually. I feel, as I come here, I'm more how can I contribute? Because by contributing, I get to participate. I'm part of it. And people want to contribute because they want to be part of this thing. And just for everybody here who's building it to know that from people coming outside, that's what we feel inside. And that what you're doing is very, very important, and people who just start to get a glimpse of it want to be part of it and learn more, and to trust that, and to ask for our support or involvement, because we're in it together and it feels that way here. So thank you.
Well said. I think what's so important about this and what's allowed it to move so quickly is the open nature, and and this reliance on something that's public domain and open source, and it's an undeniable secular trend that more and more things are becoming open or forced to become open. And you know, our generation is seeing so much of what was closed, you know, open for the first time, which is just like incredibly inspiring, but allows for that feeling of collaboration, participation, and that we're all actually building this together.
I think the openness and the open collaboration allows everybody that's here and everybody that's watching back home to feel like we're winning because we're all contributing, and that's what makes Nostr so exciting. Because even though you may not be a developer, you may not be building something, but because it's so open and your voice is heard and you can participate and collaborate with developers, whenever they win, whenever they push a new feature out, whenever they add a new update, everybody wins. Everyone is so excited and everyone's clapping, everybody's rallying behind it because you're participating in it and you feel part of that community. You feel the close-knit community that we have. And it feels different because we've never, maybe unless you're around, you know, Twitter in 2007 or you know, or early days of social networks, you didn't feel that you were part of the community because you know, they were rolling out features and you weren't actively participating in that type of capacity. Since it's completely open now, everyone's participating in some type of capacity. So I often say that we all feel like we're winning as developers win.
I see Nostr as, in some sense, we're building this new structure in like cyberspace of like human connection that is open and free, and that is, in the same sense, what the web represented this idea where you can put your footprint, like just put it out there, and no one can stop you. Just, you know, rent a server, buy a server, and but that was just in some sense limited to just a document. It's like you're putting like a piece of paper on a wall that everyone can see. Whereas what I see Nostr is like a parallel web where you're not just putting like a piece of paper, you're putting like your consciousness, and then everyone else can kind of tap into that and follow that feed. And that's something that the web was lacking. So we have this new social web that's open and free, that is linking people that have never seen before. Like I for the most part, I haven't really seen or know any of you before this conference, and I've just met so many interesting and fascinating people, and just the fact that a piece of technology can do that, and it's just like, wow, like this is like, it hasn't even been that long since this started. Like, what's next? Like, what can this technology do going forward? It's just, I don't think we're even ready for that. So.
Okay, I think we have time for one more question because the next session is going to be the most important of this conference for the conference because it's the retrospective of the conference and how we want to move this forward and how we think about the next conference. So,
I already stole the mic.
The last question.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that the replacing GitHub with Nostr is very, very exciting. So I'm curious, are there any other products and services that we use in our daily lives that we could benefit from replacing with Nostr or just with any other open source means?
I mean, I think everything should be open source, basically. So I don't really have anything specific.
So at the base layer, Nostr is just text communication and authentication, and that is the basis of pretty much every application that we use every day, from Uber to Yelp to LinkedIn, right? You sign in with credentials, and it's messaging data being pushed. So in my opinion, maybe not everything needs to be built on Nostr, but a lot of things absolutely could be. A lot of things that we use from day to day, popular applications, absolutely could be. At least the messaging and the authentication portion of Nostr could be used for it.
Everything. We'll do everything.
Sorry, apparently everything.
Except binary data. Anyone try to push binary data into Nostr, it's like, no, just don't do that.
The thing we're looking at is, I know there was a panel about it, is music. It's always in the background, and it's locked up in a really terrible state right now, and it really wants to be free and easy for people to both contribute to and also consume. but that's it's mainly controlled by lawyers and accountants at the moment. So I think this definitely has some benefits to that, and one I'm focused a lot on.
There is a list, like there is now another bounty site that was made on Nostr too, which is kind of cool. I forget the URL, we can figure out for everybody later.
NostrBounties.com.
There you go. So there's a few, people are listing ideas. And if you have ideas for things that you think should be built, like even if it's not a lot, just post as a bounty, even if it's a tiny bounty, because somebody might read it and build it anyways, not because of the bounties, just sometimes people are just looking for ideas. And I just wanted to address one little thing, is that like, stop asking for permission. If you want to do stuff, like in any of these networks, just do it. You know, like that's kind of the whole point. And I feel like people always sort of like just trying to ask for permission. You see this in like development forums, you see this in the network. It's like, can I do this? Like, no, just do it, break stuff. And if it's, you know, if it's meant to be, if it has a market fit, it will happen, right? So stop asking for permission.
Okay. I think that's it. Thanks to our panel. Big round of applause. Round of applause to you all. And Shane, you come up. Okay, we'll rotate people. You have to get off the stage now. Oh no, you're on the stage. You're still on the stage. Okay, you're moderating this one. Really?